Rafiq Azam is amongst one of the most notable Bangladeshi architects of this era, so it is very much an honor to have him here today. Rafiq is the principal architect of Shatotto, an architecture firm in Dhaka established in 1995 with a focus on architecture for green living. And at the very core, Rafiq and Shatotto are inspired by Dhaka itself, the history and heritage of Bengal, the culture, and the geographical landscape, all resulting in a practice that ends up bridging the gaps between architectural values and the current crisis of a responsible architecture for a healthier society. Rafiq graduated in 1989 from Bangladesh Engineering University in Dhaka, and his many awards are so impressive in both art and architectural work, including the Architecture Gold Medal from the Arcasia Awards in 2017, the Leading European Architects Forum Awards in 2012, three-time recipient of the World's Architecture Community Award in 2008 and 9, four-time recipient of the South Asian Award for Architecture, Berger Award for Excellence in 2017, and the list goes on, and we can spend a good 10 minutes talking about his achievements. So, what an opportunity it is to learn from Rafiq himself, who is going to talk about how Dhaka inspires his architectural practice. Pleasure to have you, Rafiq.
Thank you very much.
In what ways Dhaka inspire you as an architect and also as a person that grew to having such approach to design?
Yeah. Dhaka is a very interesting city. It started many thousand years, actually. I mean, like the first millennium. But it came into light, became very popular in the Mughal time, 1608, when they started Dhaka as a provincial capital of Mughal states. And then it became internationally famous. And because few things very important from Dhaka is a muslin, the Dhaka muslin was one of the most favorite cloth all over the world. And then we have silk, we have Dhaka Jamdani, the foods are very famous. And then we have Mughal architecture, we have British architecture, now we have contemporary architectures, internationally acclaimed projects. So this is how Dhaka is really from the many thousand years becoming important and important, now is still important. Uh, and I'm so lucky that, I born and brought up in all part of Dhaka. So I have seen the historical places. I have seen the narrow houses, the courtyard houses, the beautiful trees in the middle of the courtyard. So these are the memories. Dhaka is full of memories, culture, tradition, archaeology, architecture, and public places. So this is how I think Dhaka inspired me. One thing I can connect with you, like there is a space called MER, M-E-R, which in many parts of India they call it Otla or they call rock. That means a small space generated in between street and the house where people come and sit. Anybody can sit actually in front of your house. So there is a very small plinth area. So that is very human. Nowadays we produce high boundary walls, security means to secure their house. But at the time, the people want people to come and sit in front of their house. So look at the difference between humanity in architecture. So there are a lot of things to learn from old city, any old city of the world. I think they can give you a lot of things to learn from them. So I'm really inspired by Dhaka for many ways. And now my work, basically, a lot of things is reflected that I learned from all part of Dhaka. So that's how, I'm really inspired by my city.
So it is super multicultural and a lot of different times that go on it. Yeah.
Yeah, in one sense, yes. But the basic, the Bengal is always prominent. But many people came here, the European, non-European, Persian, Afghans, and many people around came, do business, probably rule few years also. But we Bengali, the Bengal remain Bengal with the. That's why our language is Bengali language is all over Bangladesh. We don't speak other language here. So the homogeneous quality of the land is still the same, but we received so many cultures and we
Yeah.
enriched ourselves gradually through that.
Yeah. That's great. And as an architect, you can work on a single project that stands on its own, but of course, it is influenced by these many cultures and the immediate surroundings, and vice versa. The architecture also contributes to having impact in a greater sense, right? To the environment, to the society, and even to master planning. So, how do you see your works contributing to these aspects?
I mean, if you look around, Bangladesh is the largest delta on earth,
Mm,
It's on the Ganges plain. So water coming from Himalayas and the rain coming from the south of India. So this is all crisscrossing and receiving huge amount of water, which is a sweet water. This is the only country in the world having 6 seasons, not 4 seasons or 3 seasons. Six
mm,
seasons having water, fertile land, unbelievable fertile land. So these you have greeneries. That's why. So how you not be inspired by all these things? If you're an architect, environment, you have understanding of environment, you must be, inspired and influenced, and its poetic quality must be in your work also. Whether you are a
right,
poet or a writer or whatever you are actually, but the whole things will inspire you to become who you are. So I'm an
right,
architect, inspired by this beautiful landscape, the water, the green, the sky, and the breeze, everything. Today, what I am today. Yeah,
right. And of course, Shatotto focuses on green architecture, right?
yeah.
It covers many aspects. And in your opinion, what
Mm.
aspect of green architecture is interesting to raise concerns for or to discuss together with the audience of architecture, especially in Dhaka, maybe the immediate audience for your architecture?
Mm. Yeah. In fact, when I started, like mid 90, uh, at the time, there's no idea of such green architecture issue now is happening in the world. It's not like that at the time. And of course, we are
Mm,
not that much aware of what is world is talking about green architecture. There's not much of communication like today. But why I was working more or less, I mean, inclined towards green issue because I wanted to be a painter, and I was mostly engaged myself doing painting all around, like the city and outside city, in the villages, the waters and the greens and the leaves and shade and shadow and penumbra. These are my
mm,
lives. These were my lives. So when I started architecture, I think which I started accidentally because of my father. He didn't want to be see me an artist. So
mm.
I end up my life like entering engineering university, camouflaging my father like I'm going to be an engineer, but it was a department of architecture, which has nothing to do with engineering basically. One sense. So I became an architect, and I found that architecture is not exactly what is I thought about that art is. So it's not. It has some connection, but it is not exactly the same thing.
Mm,
So accidentally, I became an architect, but artist by conviction. Still, I'm an artist by conviction. So I started, I thinking like, okay, architecture is something like a painting. When I started, my whole idea was, oh, I'm doing painting actually, not architecture. But gradually, I found there's some responsibility. So I thought architecture may be a poetry, something like poetic. But gradually, I understood more things, and I started thinking, oh, architecture is something like poetic responsibility.
yeah.
It's a responsibility, but very poetic responsibility. And nowadays, after many years, almost like 25 or more years of practice, I think architecture is something like poetic responsibility. I mean, it's something like environmental responsibility in a very poetic way. It's a poetic expression of environmental responsibility. That is all about architecture to me.
Mm,
The whole thing started not from any mathematical issue. It's more like a social issue, more like a philosophical issue, and I mean passionate issue. And I saw architecture at the time in the green, not architecture, green architecture. I saw something, some building, some structure in the green actually, because it's a vast green, the water everywhere, and there's a small hut. To me,
Mm.
architecture in the green. So I started architecture in the green, and gradually now we talk about green architecture. Actually, architecture in the green. That was the idea from the beginning. So I think we should not shift from that position, because nowadays we see architecture, green architecture is ticking the boxes,
Mm.
like how much carbon dioxide you have reduced, and how much air condition you have reduced. So all these things, boxes are there, you're ticking, and you are calculating the points to get a certificate, architecture, green architecture certificate, all the ratings, so these are the certificates, getting architecture becoming green architecture. It's not the
Mm.
purpose. Purpose is really people live there. They will tell you one day, I'm so happy. I'm getting my air. I'm getting my light, the winter light, summer wind, the rain coming. I can enjoy the rain, celebrate the environment. So I'm happy with the design. So that will become architecture in the green. No,
Right.
not only certificate, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think your poetic approach leaves a more like imaginary solutions and free forms of expression also that is very, I think it is very liberating to see. And then mixed with architecture in the green, it can leave our eyes more open to absorbing and appreciating the nature around us
yeah,
more than creating this nature. You know
yes.
what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes. And getting certificate platinum or gold, by getting,
Yeah.
putting some numbers, If you're not happy, what is the meaning of the certificate? You have the certificate in hand and the house, but you're not happy because you're not getting proper light. You're not celebrating rain. You're not celebrating the winter light. So
Hmm.
most important, the people using it and they're happy.
Yeah.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great example of an honest approach that leads to a good practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
and and I'm very intrigued also by your saying that green architecture is not a mere mechanism of energy saving, but it seems like an inspiring process of energy gaining. So I am pretty sure it relates to back when you said it's a bit more of architecture in the green, that it is sort of giving energy to you. But do you mind elaborating more on it?
Yeah. You see, architecture is really comprehensive process. It's not something that you just create out of nothing. It's a thousands years of, engaging people and wisdom. The amount of wisdom you have to receive from the history, culture, from the book, from your own experience, intuitiveness. If we have a philosopher like 18th century philosopher, his name is Lalon, and he says if one thing is not inside your body, then it is not outside the body either. So your body is a
Mm.
comprehensive thing, everything inside your body. If something is missing inside your body, actually that is missing also outside your body. It's
Mm.
not available outside also. So human is also very important to study, to understand nature. And human is a composition of two things. One is the envelope or the body itself, and which is fragile, and the other is the thoughts, what you
Mm.
think actually. So thoughts are something like coming into your body and going out of your body, whenever they feel like. You cannot control the thinking, like, cannot stop it. Oh, stop it, I'm not going to think now. So
Yeah.
thinking is something, it comes to your body and goes out of it. So you become a human being when body and thoughts comes together and interact each other.
Mm.
When the thoughts will never come back, once go out and never comes back, you will be declared dead probably, Bal- dead, you are no more. So without thinking, your existence is nothing. You are no one actually. So Similarly, architecture is similar, something like, we can create a envelope, and then the whole mother nature comes into it and goes out of it. The
Mm,
sunlight comes and goes out of it. You cannot control it, basically. And the wind comes and goes out of it. The fragrance comes and goes out of it. Shadow casting and everything. Rain comes and goes out of it. You cannot actually control all these things. What you can control, you need to be scientific. You need to be environmentalist. You need to be quite wise, to understand how to create the envelope. The
mm,
envelope will be prepared so nicely, its apertures, its openings, its materials, which can absorb, reflect, refract the sun or moon, the birds coming and going into and going out of it. So you allow them to come and go out of it. So analytically, correctly, scientifically correct envelope you must
right.
produce that can hold the whole mother nature, like your body. It can hold every mother nature, the whole universe. You can hold actually into your body, like architecture. So
Right.
this is how one house, one project can be so rich that it not only reduce, the environmental hazard, but it also generates all the emotions, energy, power of human being, and they can be energized through that architecture. So this is
Mm,
how I think this is so big thing actually, philosophically, that it is indeed a place where we can be energized, we can be fulfilled, we can be very happy, and then we can start again everyday life with lot of struggles.
right.
Yep.
So think of it as a breathing mechanism on its own.
Absolutely.
Air, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
great.
To breathe. Yes. Yes.
So, do you want to talk about your projects right now?
Yes. Yes.
Some of it?
That is interesting thing that when I started thinking that architecture is just like painting, from that, nowadays I think architecture is a expression, a poetic expression of environmental responsibility. So
Mm,
one small project, what it can do actually, yeah, of course it can teach you a lot. It can give immense pleasure to the users also. But you, I think architects are the servant of the community. Architects are for the people of the community, not only the rich people.
mm,
They're not the architects of the rich people only. Our final destination to become architect of the people, of the community. So how I can serve the community if I have a project only a small residence for a small family. So
mm,
gradually architects target is to create, establish themselves or prepare themselves that they can handle larger project which is for the community. So I'm lucky that I was looking for like that, and I finally, we are working for the last couple of years the community projects like art center or public places or community centers and parks and playgrounds, open spaces, open greens for the community. So revitalization projects, so the projects, the open space was gone because of, all illegal people occupied,
mm,
antisocial people occupied the spaces. Now how to deal with them, how to remove them from there and hand over the project to the real owner of the community people.
right.
They're the owner.
Yeah.
So how to hand over the project to them actually. So working with them, their ideas, and finally develop the things, and finally they are taking over their own open spaces. This is how we are working with the community, with the people around, the government, so all sort of people involved. But this is the
Mm,
challenge of architects, how to connect people together and finally create a result which is beneficial to the community. And
right.
that must be poetic. Otherwise people's, if you lose the poetry of the people, then the whole hope and the beauty and the desire gone. Then never you are flourishing. You're that's difficult to go ahead. You know.
Mm,
So we are working to make people go ahead with their beautiful hope and a beautiful life next. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And if the projects are playgrounds, then you are also giving it to the children, right?
Yes.
Like the children will then start having hopes and having being used to these nice things that architects create so that they can grow
Yeah.
to becoming more like these people that create it.
Just I'd like to mention little thing like what happened to our. We are working 31% projects, 31 numbers, which is not small. But every community is a different challenge. Every
Mm,
space was different and with different difficult situations. We developed very interesting philosophical envelope, which is like every space we found with our research that the government, the last 60 years, they try to protect the spaces from the outsider, I mean the illegal and antisocial people. They are
mm,
occupying it. They want to stop them to come inside. They put barbed wire, the wall around it, the green space, high wall, and the barbed wire, or all those sorts of thing, which actually fail to protect the green. Rather, they protected all illegal people and antisocial people, drug addict people, drug dealers. They supported, they protect them, not the green space, because the whole community cannot enter into the green space. It's all covered by high walls and protected. So once it's
mm.
protected, the sinology, I mean the semiology, it says, it says to the people, you are not allowed, you are protected,
Right.
cannot enter because that is high walled up. So that was the problem. Inside evening, dark time, night time, naughty people inside, few people, and they occupied. They use this as their own safe haven. So what we
Mm,
have done, we first thing we did, dismantle each and every boundary wall, surrounding walls, and make it completely 100% open and visible, and allow people to enter every time, 7 days a week and 24 hours. They can go into the green space and they can cross it, they can walk through, they can go to the other places through the green space, not even going to the green space as destination, but they are
mm.
crossing to go to the other places, other side of the green. So this is how they are now occupying the 24 hours, the green. Now this is protected. Now this is protected. So the idea of protection of green was completely wrong. So
Mm,
we just changed it simply. So we did a lot of things like that. Like we put a small coffee shop over there and a gymnasium over there. So people can go even night time, the late evening, they can go and have a cup of coffee and can see beautiful lit up green space. So this is protected now because people are community over seeing. They are, their eyes are like cameras, they're seeing
yeah,
what's happening around. So these tiny things we have developed. So now the green space is not only for football or cricket or any particular game. It's for everything. You can walk because there's a walkway around which can collect all the rainwater, and the rainwater are now filtered for drinking purpose to the coffee shop, and the sprinkler system to the field itself require water. So all the water is coming from the rainwater.
mm,
So this is how we are utilizing the rainwater. We're creating the walkways. We're creating the children's area for the play zone, football area, cricket area, coffee shop, gymnasium, bookshop. The libraries. So many things in one space. All the people coming and they can celebrate. They can
right.
celebrate. So this is how you are protecting without any police, without any gun. We are protecting the green open space.
Yeah. And it's great to mention that also because a lot of the times it's counterintuitive, right? We think that the idea of wanting to protect something has to be accompanied with enclosing a space with these tall walls. But in the end of the day, actions are driven by situations also. And psychologically, if the space is open and welcoming, then these people will not be wanting to do crime in these situations.
Right. And you see, philosophically, if you don't trust